everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Hello, hi. It's the end of this year. It's officially December, and I thought that I should film this video. Even though it is a little bit early, I thought I would film this video at the end of December. But I feel like I don't think I'm gonna read anything that is like gonna enter my favorites list within like this last month. So I thought right now it's okay if I do this video right now. So welcome to my favorite fiction reads of the year. This is from the start of the year till now. This year I really wanted to like start reading consistently and every single day, and I have managed to do that, and I've managed to also read 35 books this year, which is a major thing for me. I have accumulated a lot of different favorites that I kind of favorite books that I kind of really want to talk about. I decided on fiction books only for now, and then I'm gonna do a nonfiction books later, because I have a lot of like nonfiction books that I absolutely love this year, but I decided like I'll do a different video for that because I feel like I'm gonna like go into more depth and details. The first book that I really want to talk about that I read this year that I absolutely loved is the Diana Wynne Jones House of Many Ways. I loved this book so much, okay? Let me tell you something. This book was phenomenal. If you don't know Diana Wynne Jones, first of all, I'm sure you do because she's the author of the novel Howl's Moving Castle, which later became the Ghibli movie. If you've never read Howl's Moving Castle, I highly recommend. One of my all-time favorite novels ever be written. It's such a good novel. I don't know, I just desperately really want to live in Diana Wynne Jones's mind, because the way she's able to imagine such whimsical, beautiful universes, it's like, how do you even think of that? You're so fucking cool. Is about Charmin. It follows Charmin Baker, who has to take care of her great uncle William's house, who is basically sick and has to like go through surgery, but it's magic surgery, because you see her uncle is a wizard and she has to take care of his house, and house is not a regular house, it is a magical house. And this house has like, if you open the door a specific way, if you push it a specific direction, that leads you to different rooms, and it's like, it's a magical house. And she is not in any capacity a magician, but she comes in there with a beginner, kind of not very used to magic eye, and then she like kind of tries to get used to the house, and like she encounters many different things. This is such a good book. Also, Sophie and Howl are in this book, which I love. Different characters from different books all interact with one another, which I find super nice. There is one more book, I think it's Castle in the Air, that is also by Diana Wynne Jones, that also has Sophie and Howl in it, and somehow I also really want to read. But I love how it's like one universe. All of her stories are like happening in one single universe, and they all interact with one another. I find that super brilliant. But this is like such a whimsical read. Like, I love her writing style. I love the way she like manages to imagine things that are so whimsical, and it's fairy tale like that. It's so fucking good. I highly recommend, and I also recommend reading Howl's Moving Castle. Even though I did not read it this year, I read it like maybe 10 years ago, which was a long time ago, oh my god. But it was literally like, ever since I read it, it has become my favorite book in the whole world. Like, I loved it so much. So I highly recommend you guys read Howl's Moving Castle alongside House of Many Ways, because they're so fucking good. Trust me, they're so fucking good. Next book that I absolutely loved this year, it's the Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop. I did not think that I would love this book nearly as much as I did. Hold on, you guys, you kind of fell back. I didn't think that I would love this book nearly as much as I did, but basically, characters in this whole book, it's discussing one simple thing, which is basically mental health of individuals living in a capitalist society. In its core, that's what this book is about. It follows Yeonju, who decides to open a bookshop, which was her dream for many, many years. And essentially, the book follows her and the barista and all of the characters in the neighborhood, the Hyunam neighborhood, that come in and kind of interact with one another. This follows like so many different stories of people experiencing burnout under capitalism, feeling worthless because they don't have a job or don't have a traditional like good job. It discusses sort of like how people center society, how society centers work and puts all of its value on that, and how that is a struggle that a lot of people face, because sometimes people can't find jobs and sometimes people are unemployed. Sometimes people have to do minimum wage service jobs that feel and that is not perceived as necessary or important in society and is looked down on, and they kind of struggle with that. Essentially, this is what it is, and it's such a healing book. It is such a wonderful healing, like the way it's written, it's so cozy. It's like a book that you read that if you like feel depressed or feel burnout or feel tired, I think this is like a book to read that it's just gonna feel so cozy and fuzzy and just wonderful. I think I said this in one of, if you've watched my book reviews, I've actually said this on here. It says a poem to the soul and a glorious love letter to books and reading, and essentially this is what this book is in its core. I remember that there was a conversation in there about happiness and what happiness is that I absolutely loved. I think that it's something that we don't really discuss often, but it's like it is so philosophical actually in its core. It's very philosophical, but they were talking about how happiness is and what can be defined as happy, and is happiness sort of a goal that you work towards, or is it just feeling satisfied every single day, feeling happy, or at least like content every single day? And it's like a lot of philosophy that our conversations are had in there that genuinely like inspired me to write a whole Substack article about it. But it has introduced me to an ideology, which is a post-work ideology, post-work thinking that I didn't know about, that I literally like fell into a major rabbit hole where all I do is read up about this specific ideology. Right now I'm doing a whole curriculum about this specific ideology, and this was introduced to me via this book. So this book means so much to me. Like, it has literally influenced what I believe in politically. Like, imagine that. And this is it's such an amazing book. It's healing, it's loving. It's a book that you kind of, when you get to the end, you're like, oh, I kind of don't want it to end anymore. I want to read more about the characters and the people coming into the bookshop and all of the different things that happen. And it's just like you become attached to the characters in such a wholesome way. It's just like, it feels like a hug. It's healing. It's like, it's the best. It's the best. I really like this book. It's also, again, introduced me to an ideology that I deeply believe in now, that I had no idea existed prior to this. And to that, I thank this book. Like, deeply obsessed with this ideology. And this wouldn't have never have happened if I did not read this one single book. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the impact that books have on humans that we don't really think about? It's like this is barely mentioned in there. While they kind of talk about it a little bit, but in there it's just like, oh, it's a book club, and they read this book, and they're talking about why it's interesting and stuff like that. And this one kind of like maybe paragraph or maybe one page about this book that was like, oh, that's deeply interesting, I want to learn more about that, has caused me to change my fucking ideology as a person. And imagine like how much books impact us. Highly recommend. This is like one of the best. I know this is like a genre that, and I've read a few of these. I've read the Murasaki Bookshop, which I liked a lot, but it wasn't one of my favorites. I also read the What You Need Is in the Library, which I also found super wholesome and loving, and I loved it a lot. But also, I don't think it's a book of mine that I would be like, oh my god, you absolutely have to read it. It's the most amazing book ever. But this one to me was like, I don't know how to explain it in any other way, but this was Such a beautiful book. I really liked it. Really, really liked it. Next book on my favorites list. I don't have the physical copy, but I did at some point, but I think, oh, actually no, my sister bought the physical copy, which is why I had it, but I actually read it on my Kindle. But it is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Listen. Okay, I don't cry easily. I have to say this, I don't cry easily. I'm not a crier, okay? It takes a lot for me to cry, and I usually am, it takes a lot for me to cry, okay? When I read this book, I sobbed. Like, when I got to that ending, I cried. It deeply affected me as a person. This book was so affected me so much as a person that I spent, I think, the entire week after I read this book telling everyone I know to go read this book, and everyone's like, yeah, I've read this book a long time ago. But if you don't know what Metamorphosis is, it essentially follows the story of Gregor Samsa. Yeah, I think so. Gregor Samsa, who wakes up one day and finds himself, he has turned into a bug. Yeah, he woke up, found himself turned into a bug. And that is the whole premise of the book. And it's so beautiful. It's tragic. It's heart-wrenching. It's so sad, and it's so beautifully written. I think it's like the normalcy and the way he handles, as I think, waking up as a bug, and instead of like freaking out the fact that he's a bug, he kind of, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be late to work, and I feel like, some people were like, oh my god, like, would you have cared about that? I feel like human beings are essentially made to care about these things. I think that we would be worried about missing work if we wake up as a bug, but I think it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful story. I think it's a metaphor for so many things. It's a metaphor for, I think, maybe mental illness and feeling like you are worthless unless you are contributing to the people around you and to society. It is a metaphor for disabled people and how they become almost a burden, an important, valueless objects, almost like a bug is, when they become disabled. It stands for so many things. It's a tragic story. It is beautiful. It's so well written. And in the one that I have, I'll put a picture on here, but this specific one, in the back, there were multiple different short stories by Franz Kafka. There was one called The Penal Colony, and that one was a really good story. They do spend a copious amount of time trying to explain to you how the machine works, but once you get to the ending, it's like, oh, chills. You get chills all over your body. Highly recommend, by the way. But yeah, Metamorphosis is a story that like did a major damage on me. It has, like, there are some stories I think that I've read in my life that kind of stay with you. Like, there are just there that will stay with you. You will think about them a lot, and I think Metamorphosis is definitely one of those for me. It's a story that I think I will forever think about, and I will forever like remember and want to read and love, and having a story like that is so important, and it's so nice. It's the best thing ever. So yeah, I just really loved Metamorphosis. If you've never read Metamorphosis, highly recommend. Okay, the next book that has reached my favorite, it's actually a very recent read that I really liked. This took me 2 months to finish because it's huge, but it is The Brothers of Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I think that's how you say his last name. I am not sure. Okay, look at this thing. Look at this thing. Look at how big this thing is. It took me 2 months to finish this book, but this book is, wow. I didn't think I would like this book nearly as much as I did, but I loved it. When it first starts off, I get a little bit confused. There is a lot of like, so the characters have like so many different nicknames, which is a bit confusing. But if in this specific one, which I have the bicentennial edition, this specific edition, it's kind of like a character map, and it has each character's name and also all the different nicknames that they have that get mentioned in the book. So at first when I was reading this book, this genuinely did help a lot. I would go back to that page and be like, which character that was? Okay, yeah, okay. And then I kind of like memorized them afterwards, so I didn't really need it. This follows the story of three brothers, Dimitri, which is the oldest, Ivan is the second in the middle, and the youngest is Alexei. And each one of the brothers is actually representation of something. So Dimitri's passion, Ivan, is knowledge and kind of logic, and Alyosha or Alexei is basically, this whole book is everything leading up to their father's murder, and then finally everything after their father's murder. Okay, this is the entire book, and this book is so good. It's filled with philosophical conversations that are had between characters that essentially, like, I mean, I was shook to my core. There were times where I was genuinely like, you are, oh, wow. Like, there's so many beautiful philosophical conversations had between the characters, and when I first started off, I was very confused. I'm like, okay, why is this important? But as it moved on, these conversations became my favorite part of this book, and I'm always like, oh my god, he's about to have a deep conversation with someone. I'm about to like have chills, and I'm so excited. And I think that we often read, because we read like kind of modern books, and this is this is what, written 1875 or something. Like, it's an old ass book, and I think that nowadays we are so obsessed with efficiency and speed and having things being really quick, and so we tend to not have patience for books like these, where there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily related to the plot, but there's such important conversations and there's such important points to be had, but because we're obsessed with like go fast, next, we're kind of unable to enjoy them. And when I read this book, I felt like this was meant to be read over a long period of time. It's not meant to be rushed as a book, because the conversation and the quality of the conversations and the writing in here is so good that it cannot just be read, it cannot just be consumed. And that is something that I haven't ever had experience with, which is crazy. But it's such a phenomenal book. And I found that characters were very, like, even though they each of the brothers represented something, I still found that there was so much humanity and such complex characters that you can feel like they're very human. There were so many, like, I at first did not like Dimitri at all, but as it went on, I'm like, oh, I get Dimitri, and I feel bad for Dimitri, and he's not as horrible as I thought he was. But because, like, he feels human, and you kind of begun to understand his struggles and reasons why he acts a certain way, it makes sense in the grand scheme of things because of the way he was raised and the shit that he's went through as a kid. So, like, everything starts to make sense as you read the story, but everyone starts to feel so human. And I think that even with I don't know if this is a spoiler, I don't know if I can spoil a novel this old anyway, to be honest, but when he hid half of the money in the amulet because he's a scoundrel but not a thief, I just found that so human. Like, I found that so human. I think that we all do stuff like this, stupid stuff like this, in order to convince ourselves we're not nearly as bad as we are acting currently, and in order to, like, not feel as horrible about ourselves. And I think that him doing that, Dimitri doing that, was so, like, that detail to me was so important and so human. It really humanized Dimitri for me, and I really ended up, in the end, I really liked Mitya. Like, I genuinely loved him at the end, and I felt bad for him. But as I was reading this book, and as it was reaching the end, especially with the courtroom scenes, I kind of begun to realize something that was a little bit shocking. But if you trace back everything that was wrong with every single character and everything that's currently happening, it all is because, and it's the fault of Fyodor, their father, the victim of this book. Literally, like, he's the victim of the book, but he's literally the reason why all of this happened. Like, if you think about it. And this was kind of illustrated a little bit in the prosecutor and the defendant lawyer's speeches. They kind of talk about that a little, and I'm like, oh, this is like, it, when it dawns on you, like, isn't it ironic that he's the victim when he literally is at fault for everything? Like, literally, like, if you trace it back, he is literally at fault for everything. I don't think I've read a novel that has, like, this book has become my companion, and like, I look forward to reading this book every night, and I just like have so much fun reading it. It has become something super deeply personal to me. I don't understand why, but when I finished it, I felt sad, and I kind of like was like, oh, I kind of don't want to let it go. And it's weird because I rarely ever feel like that towards books, like very rarely. And I think this is easily like maybe my favorite book of the entire year. But yeah, I think so. I love this book the most out of all the books I just talked about. So yeah, really like this book. And also get this edition. Don't get any other edition, because look at this. Look at how much it flops. Like, this is so easy to read. You can easily like, and I have been kind of like not taking care of it, and the spine is not ruined, as you can see. Like, it's not ruined. There are no lines because it's just so floppy. It's perfect for books like this big. All books this big should be made like that, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm about to reach the final book, and this is not really a book per se, but it is a fiction. It's a fiction. It is a book. It is considered a book. This is something that I have been consuming since I was 14 years old. It's been 12 years now. Holy fucking shit. Is it 14? I think I was 13 actually. And this is a huge part of my life. And right now, this year, it was, I think, the best year for this specific fiction, and that is One Piece. Listen, if you are a reader and you love fiction, I highly recommend you read One Piece. This is a manga. It's a Japanese comic, and it is essentially one of the best things I've ever read in my whole life. It's one of the best fiction I've ever read in my whole life, and I've read a lot, guys. I've read a lot, but this is one of my all-time favorite, like, fiction pieces to exist on this planet, and I genuinely recommend this to every single person. If you don't know what it is, it follows Luffy. This is Luffy, and Luffy has a dream, and his dream is to become the Pirate King. Now, there was a previous pirate that has gotten that title, Pirate King, and the way to do so is to travel to the end of the Grand Line, which is a sea, and which is really hard to navigate, and most times people die navigating that sea. And at the end, he left a treasure, and this treasure is known as the One Piece, and this treasure is supposed to give you 3 things: wealth, fame, and power. And this treasure, known as the One Piece, is placed at the very last island in the Grand Line. And so you have to navigate your way through and deal, as a pirate, deal with the government, which is a highly corrupt institution. Like, guys, highly corrupt institution. You have to deal with the government, you have to deal with other pirates, and some of which are extremely horrible people. And then you have to deal with nature and having to navigate through the rough seas of Grand Line in order to make it to the last island so you can get the One Piece. Since Gold Roger, who's the previous Pirate King, died, he was executed by the world government. Since then, no one has ever managed to actually reach the end and get the One Piece, okay? And our entire story follows Luffy, he's a 17-year-old boy, literally 17 years old, who sets sail and gathers a crew so he can go and find the One Piece. It's essentially a story, in its core, it's about adventure, right? But it is actually so much more than this. It's a highly political story. It has slavery, it has racism, it has corrupt governments, corrupt kings, how private healthcare is a bad thing. basically, it is essentially if an accumulation. It is essentially some of the best, funniest, and also the most fucked up shit you'll ever read in your whole life. And you will get attached. Let me tell you, you will get attached to these people. And you will embark on this journey just as much. Like, it feels like I am just as personally invested in their journey as they are, which is a crazy thing to be able to feel as a reader, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't have, this is not the latest volume, this is Wano, but I don't have the latest volume. I read them online, but hopefully I really, really want to collect them all personally. But yeah, highly recommend. That's definitely one of, this is a piece of fiction that will always reach my favorites, I think, until this ends, which is it's in the end right now. Probably it will be like another 7 years, because knowing the author, he's very slow. Okay, this is all my favorite like fictional books that I've read this year. There are a lot of, I read quite a bit. I think I want to give like a shout out to some. Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I don't know, I really liked it. It was a good one. It just wasn't my favorite, in my opinion. Shout out to obviously the Murasaki Bookshop, which I kind of talked about a little bit. Like I said, it's a cute book. It's cute, I liked it, but it wasn't necessarily a favorite, but it was still a really good book. I highly recommend if you want like something easy to read, something cute. I also went a Giovanni's Room. I read this book, I loved it. The writing is phenomenal, I have to say, and it was such a good book as well, but it didn't reach my favorites because, I don't know, it just personally wasn't a favorite of mine. Shout out to The Plague by Albert Camus. It was a really good novel if you are interested, but it is a really good fictional book. Flush by Virginia Woolf. It's just a really cute story. I really liked it. Not a favorite, but it was a really good story regardless. And finally, I Who Have Never Known Men was such a good book. This is a great shout out to that. So yeah, these are my fiction book shout outs that I've read this year that I still liked, but not quite my favorite. Well, yeah, that is all for today. I'll see you guys in the next one, hopefully, and until then, see you later. Bye.